And you were one of the first to introduce this capability to handle flickering LEDs or lights that are changing intensity and causing problems with images and detection. What's next there? You're going to obviously have some ideas with all these advances. Something is going to give there as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I think that's a great question. So LED flicker mitigation is a big issue in the industry. And just to kind of clarify what it all is that most signage nowadays is using LEDs, and it doesn't matter if you're in Europe, the US, or in Asia. And because of that, the LEDs typically are pulse width modulated, and that's to extend their life and also to control their intensity. But unfortunately, the period at which they pulse is not always the same as the capture period that the image sensor sees, because it uses rolling shutter. And so therefore, sometimes the LEDs look like they're on, sometimes they look like they're off. And this causes problems both for human vision. You could imagine a policeman behind you and you think their lights are flashing where they're not. And then you pull over, obviously not something you want to have to happen. But at the same time, for machine vision, it can be even worse because it may misread signs. It may misread what's going on in the scene and do the wrong thing. And clearly that could be significantly worse. So LED flicker mitigation is really required nowadays for almost all sensors outside of the cabin. And what we've been doing is we've been trying to develop technologies that enable us to have very wide dynamic range, like 140 dB, at the same time as having LED flicker mitigation. And this is a very, very challenging task because, again, to do this, it's very hard over a very wide range of external illuminations as well as LED frequencies. And so as we look at all these parameters, we've been spending a lot of effort developing LFM, and specifically LFM in high dynamic range applications. And our newest products, this is what we're really trying to bring to market.
Okay, very good. A clear answer. So that begs the question, if you can do this with the flashing lights, what happens in a normal imaging situation when you have oncoming traffic lights, you have glare on a wet road, the sun's going up and down, you go from a tunnel to the clear day. Are all of these encompassed as well and taken care of? With
Absolutely. When we look at 140 dB of dynamic range, that represents 10 million to 1 when you look at intensities. So when you're in the tunnel and you're looking out, this is something that will allow you to see outside the tunnel while you're inside. Also, in applications where you might have ice on the road and you have a lot of glare, all of these situations require wide dynamic range. And what we've been working on are sensors that have up to 140 dB of dynamic range. And that is, I think, key for a lot of external applications because of the challenges that you just talked about.
Okay, so